Hey, welcome back to Everyday Jesus. My name is Derek. I am so glad that you're here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about a very interesting topic. We're talking about money today. This is a really difficult topic for us to talk about as Christians and as American Christians, and just as Americans in general. We don't like to talk that much about money. It's can be a touchy subject with a lot of us. But Jesus talks pretty frankly about it. And we're going to look at one part here in Matthew once again, in chapter 6. Jesus says, "Do not lay up for yourself treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves neither break in nor steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And then jump down a little bit, he says, "For no one can serve two masters. He'll either hate one and love the other, or he'll be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." Some translations say mammon, or we can just say wealth. You can't serve both God and wealth and possessions. And this is kind of a tough word here. I think, and we'll talk a few things, what he is saying and what he isn't saying. He isn't necessarily saying here that if you follow him, you have to get rid of everything that you have, right? There are people that do that and people that feel convicted about that, and that's okay. There is one man that he says, if you want to follow me, go sell everything that you have and come follow me. But what another thing this brings to mind is another spot. He says, he gives a couple parables, or they're kind of two similes. He does this a lot. He says, the kingdom of God is like a treasure that's buried in a field, and a man goes and he finds it, and upon finding it, he has great joy, and he goes and sells all that he has to buy that field so he can have that treasure. And then he tells another one immediately. He says, the kingdom of God is also like a man in search for fine pearls, and upon finding one of great value, he goes and sells all that he has to buy that one pearl. I think what Jesus is trying to see here is where our heart is. Where's your heart? What do you get excited about? Do you get excited about the money that you have, or the experiences and the possessions that it buys you? Or are we passionate about the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven? Now that's a really probing, hard question, especially it might bring up the following question. Well, what does that mean to be excited about the kingdom of heaven? What is the kingdom of heaven? This is a lot of what we're talking about. But the kingdom of heaven here doesn't just mean when I die I'll go to the kingdom of heaven. Jesus repeatedly is talking about the kingdom of heaven coming to bear on earth. This is what he's calling us into as we're his followers. He's calling us to enter into his kingdom now, so that we're a part of his kingdom eternally and fully when it comes. These are strange things to talk about. But this is, if we're following Jesus, we have to be honest about what he says, both about his kingdom and what he says about money. But pick up too what he's saying here. If you're not following Jesus, this is an important point for you. He says, don't lay up for yourselves treasures on earth. Don't store up all this stuff for yourself on earth, because you know that one day you're going to lose it. One day you're going to die, or someone's going to steal it, or it will rot. Whatever it is, if all you're living for is just the money that you have and the possessions and a nice house and good vacations, all of those things are going to pass away. So Jesus is offering to you a way to invest, to store up value in an eternal kingdom that he's inviting you into. Think about that today. think about what you're giving your life to. Whether you are following Jesus now or not, think about what you're really giving your life to. What do you make sacrifices for? What do you give up other things for? What do you delight in? What do you get excited about? What makes you come alive? Is it the eternal kingdom of God? Or is it things that are going to pass away one day and be nothing? These are the options that we have. And Jesus is laying these before us in this way. Basically wealth and money and all the things that we say in our world, we say we should follow these things. We say that we should be excited about getting ahead, getting advancement so we can get more things, nicer cars, bigger house, more comfortable lifestyle. But Jesus says you can't serve that and serve me. You can't love that and love me. This is a convicting word for some believers. We want to believe that God can make our lives happy and comfortable and give us a lot of wealth. And we can also follow Jesus. And maybe not. It doesn't mean that he says other places that he'll provide what we need. Right? So he knows that we need money. He knows that we need to pay bills. He knows that we need practical things that we have. He doesn't call us all to just be monks out in the hills, right? But what he does want to know is, where is your heart? What are you doing with the energy that you have? Are you investing it in God's kingdom by serving and loving those around you? Are you investing it in God's kingdom by bringing renewal and redemption in things around you? Who's your master? God or money? God or wealth? It's a big question to ask. And if we don't know the answer to that today, that's okay. Or if you do know the answer to that, that's okay too. The question is, how do we move from here? What do we do now? And we might not know, we might struggle with I don't know what the kingdom of God is. I don't know how is it valuable like a treasure in a field? How is it valuable like a wonderful pearl? Well, keep in mind the man who was looking for pearls knew pearls. He knew what he was looking for. He just found one that fulfilled his wildest dreams. There's a way in which all the good in you, your desire for justice, for mercy, for healing, for life and love, all of those things are embodied in the kingdom of God, in God's kingdom. And they're there for you. But you might have to give some things up to get it. That's what Jesus calls us into. So as we continue to go through this series of understanding what it means to follow Jesus, so much of what he's doing is exposing and explaining his kingdom to us. And as we do that, I want to build and see this bigger picture of what the kingdom of God is like, how beautiful and glorious and amazing it is. How every good dream that you've ever had, I don't mean like, I want to, ride a unicorn into the sunset or, jump in a pool of jello, but the good dreams that are in your heart for life and for joy and peace and reconciliation and redemption and justice, all of those things are in the kingdom of God. They may not all be fulfilled in this life, but one day when his kingdom comes in full, they will be. All of those things in your heart are from him. So we're building this picture of what God's kingdom is like, so that we'll see together that his kingdom is worth everything that we have. The life that comes from him, the renewal and redemption and relationship that comes from him, and his very presence is worth giving up everything that we have, selling everything that we have, or at least putting everything that we have under His authority. I think that's the most direct way that we can put this today. Don't go to a pawn shop or put everything that you own on Craigslist necessarily. But ask yourself the question, is everything that I have, all of my resources, my time, my finances, my possessions, are all those under God's authority? Will I go to Him to ask how He wants me to steward those? Or do I treat Him as something separate while I pursue and make sacrifices for my own wealth? Ask yourself that question today. Who is my master? Who am I making sacrifices for? Who am I giving things to? Is it money or is it God? Am I living my life for things that are going to pass away? And if I lost all of this tomorrow, would I be okay? That's another test. If I lose everything I own tomorrow, but I still have God, will I be okay? If the answer is no, that tells you who you serve. So I just invite you into that today, to ask those questions, search your own heart and feelings as to who your master is. And I invite you into laying all of that down. If you can honestly say to me, man, I all I know how to live is for money and for possessions and just for normal life like we all do. If that's your answer today, it's okay. But Jesus calls you to lay all that down. And He says, he who seeks to save his life, who seeks to gain his life, will lose it. You will lose it. But he who seeks to lose his life for my sake, Jesus says, will find it. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for me. To give everything to Him, everything for His sake. And in so doing, we will find the life that we really want, that we truly desire, both now and in eternity. This is what Jesus says. If we're following Him, we have to reckon with these kinds of things. It's not always a comfortable, easy message. It's not always a comfortable, easy way following Jesus. And He'll tell us that over and over. But it's worth it. It's worth everything. So I encourage you today, whether you are following Him or not, give everything you have for this pearl of great price. If you don't know the value of this pearl, stay with me. Let's continue seeking it out, finding it out. He is worth everything. Will you give it to Him? Bless you with that. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.